Well, I'm here with Caitlin to talk about laser charging, among other things. But first, I've got this malicious cookie stuffing extension in Chrome. There's an article on the Hacker News about it, and they say it had 1.4 million users. They've been removed from the Chrome store, but it's a series of extensions that do things like let many people watch Netflix shows altogether. And there's no report here that the extensions don't work. And what's interesting to me is I wonder why anybody would actually care. I mean, all they do is add JavaScript to the pages you view to replace the cookie trackers with other cookie trackers so that they harvest the money from the advertising. And I see why that's illegal and not recommended, but I don't think the end user would really care. It doesn't seem like it actually harms the end user directly. It just redirects the ad revenue to another person. And I remember a criminal at DEF CON 10 years ago telling me about this trick and how he was going to get rich doing it. It's been around for a really long time. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how the online advertising is really fraudulent business. Like more than half of the clicks you pay for are not genuine clicks. They're other things. So there are just many, many versions of this where you pay by the click, but a lot of those clicks are not real genuine users. And anyway, just another drop in that ocean of fraud, I think.
Won't anyone think about the corporate advertisers?
Well, yeah, well, apparently Chrome thinks about the corporate advertisers, which makes sense, I guess, and tries to lower the fraud by some small amount, or at least appear to be lowering the fraud. Anyway, and then Caitlin's got USB-C.
I do have USB-C. Oh, there we go. So Ars Technica has an article written by Sharon Harding talking about a wonderful new naming convention with the newest version of USB-C called USB 4 version 2.0, which is so descriptive and totally makes sense. So there's two numbers you have to worry about, USB 4 and version 2.0, which is fantastic.
And again, it's the same plug, so you can't tell it from all the others, right?
Right, it's the same plug. You're going to need new cables to handle the new data rate and everything, of course.
And they're not labeling the cables or
They're
anything.
not labeling the cables, and the name itself is just confusing. It does not explain exactly how this is different from like USB 1 or what. And they recently changed the names of USB stuff. But anyway, so this is USB 4 version 2, not USB 5. One might expect from a version 2 of 4. No, this is USB 4 version 2, and basically it's higher data rates. So yeah, you can get up to 80 gigabits per second, which is really good, which is better than the 40, twice as fast as the 40 gigabits per second. So instead of labeling it like USB 80 gigabits per second, which would make sense, and then you can go get an 80 gigabits per second cable, whatever. No, they're just calling it USB 4 version 2.
Yeah, I read an article the other day and it said what you need to do is keep track of the box everything came in and the cable that came with it and don't mix them up. And I'm like, yeah, thanks a lot. We're about 5 years too late for that.
Yeah, no, here's what you do, honestly. And I think I mentioned this on the podcast. Get yourself a label writer, and some of these are really good. And just get in the practice of putting labels on your USB-C cables. Like this one's for power, this one's for, this one came with this hard drive, and that's what you don't keep the box. The box is ridiculous. Just get a label writer
That's what
and
they
put that
said.
on your
Label your
cables.
cables. Yeah, I have to go back in time and label the cables before I mix them up. That'll solve my problem. This is like when people get hacked, they say, well, go back and make backups before that happens. I say, yeah, thanks.
Yes. Well, and I mentioned this before, there are USB testers. So you can sort of test the cable, figure out what it is, and then label it after the fact.
Yeah, well, I'll put that on my
But
list of things to never get around to. Anyway,
but yeah, I've been well aware of this USB-C problem since the inception of USB-C. So all thankfully all my USB-C cables are labeled, but I was the only one to do it.
I certainly didn't. All right. All right. Anyway, so NASA has made a device to make oxygen on Mars. And this is why I return asking this question. This is really happening. There is a device being tested on Mars to it's in the Washington Post to generate oxygen from the carbon dioxide in the Martian air. And they say they're doing this to prepare to put humans on Mars. Elon Musk wants to put humans on Mars by, I think, 2029, and China says they're going to put humans on Mars by 2033. And so they're trying to figure out how to generate enough oxygen to keep them alive there and also generate enough fuel for them to come back. But I remain baffled. How are they going to do this? Because they're going to get a lethal radiation dose on the way there. That's why I thought only lunatics planned to really send humans to Mars. But serious people are talking about it, and I wonder how they're going to overcome the difficulties of keeping them alive on the way there.
I mean, if you get a lethal dose of radiation on the way there, you'll still be alive when you get there. And you'll still be alive when you get back to Earth. But 10 years, 20 years down the road, I can't guarantee, that cancer's not going to come and get you.
Are they really going to put people through that? That just seems incredible.
Well, I mean, that was one of the risks of the first moon landing, and people accepted it.
That's
In
what I
fact,
heard.
I
I mean,
think like
that's,
two of the astronauts died from cancer, probably because of the moon landing. I mean, it's just, if you're the first to go, you get to make history, and that's sort of the price you pay. But after the first two times, three times, yeah, no one's not going to want to do it.
that's what Elon Musk said at the time. And he said, people said this is too dangerous. And he said, I got thousands of people begging to get on board to want to do it. But
They want to be the first ones on Mars. They don't want to be the 10th or 20th or 50th or 100th. That's the thing, is that you can do it once, twice, three times, and that's fine because people are willing to get cancer to be the first on Mars and get in the history books. 50,
I'm
yeah.
all right. It doesn't make much sense to me, but I guess there's a few things that make no sense to me that people do anyway. Anyway, all right. And you've got the James Webb with computer viruses, which is a new one.
Yeah, so this is new and kind of kind of ridiculous as well. So the Newsweek has an article talking about how the James Webb Space Telescope images are being used to obfuscate or hide or just basically hide data through steganography. This article is by Ed Brown, and basically it uses this image, which is the Webb Deep Field Starter woohoo, we turned it on image. And they use this image to hide commands, essentially, to run viruses, run within the virus. So the virus needs a payload, downloads this image, gets the payload from the image, and runs it. And what goes through my mind is like, this is the worst image to use to hide your payload because it is so famous. You could do a hash on it really quickly, compare it to the original, see that, stuff has changed. But okay, whatever. This virus uses that image and is sending out malware. So, okay.
Well, I guess the idea is that a lot of people are downloading that image, so hopefully you will not appear to be unusual traffic.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, you could have like pictures of flowers, unique
Yeah.
pictures of flowers, go outside to a garden
Or cat gifs.
or cat gifts. There's like images are not uncommon. You don't need to pretend like people are downloading James Webb images for it to not look like normal traffic.
I suppose, but you do get in the headlines. It's like being the first person on Mars. So.
That's true.
All right. Well, this one I was very amazed at. In Science Alert, they got an article, it's several articles about this. These people are wirelessly transmitting enough power to power a small device over 98 feet through the air. And there have been wireless charging at distance before. I mean, the military has been doing it with microwaves focused for a long time. But the traditional way to do it is to have a directional sender, like a laser or a focused dish at one end, and then have a beam and then catch it at the other end. But this one uses a new principle, which I'm very amazed at. I'm frankly quite surprised it works. You create a transmitter with a mirror sending out through the partially silvered mirror, and then you have a receiver which is using a spherical lens to reflect in all directions back, and the receiver and the sender create a lasing cavity. And it creates, so you have a very weak beam going unidirectionally all around from the transmitter. But when a receiver is in range, it creates a lasing cavity and a line between those two, which causes the amplification of the light there. So they say this is not only safe because the power is very low, and it's using far infrared, relatively far infrared, I think 1200 nanometers or so, that is not absorbed significantly by humans, and it doesn't become high power until a receiver is there. And the receiver does not need to be aimed or oriented in any way. It just needs to be within the line of sight of the transmitter, and that will create a laser beam as needed. And they say they can probably even charge multiple devices at the same time from the same transmitter. So it sounds very clever and magical.
But this requires retroreflectors on the receiving device?
It does. And so the transmitter and the receiver both have sort of half silvered mirrors, but it's a spherical reflector on the receiver. So you don't have to orient it or anything. It just has to face even vaguely generally in the right direction, and it will start receiving power.
Huh.
They say
I'm surprised that works.
I'm very surprised that works. That sounds I would have thought that would never work, but they got it working for 98 feet, and they say you could have this thing turned on and just be walking through like an airline hangar, and it would just be charging your phone while you're using it, because as long as you're within line of sight of the transmitter, it'd just be feeding power in. It sounds pretty great.
That would be great. Almost too good to be true. We'll see.
Yes, yes. I mean, if you'd asked me, I said that would never work, but apparently they got it working, and it's getting a lot of press because it does sound pretty awesome. We'll see. Anyway, and you got that AI generated artwork.
Yeah, so apparently AI generated artwork has come a long way in the past few months. Like literally, like a few months ago, it was not nearly as good as it is today. And so as a joke or as a troll, this article talks about, and this article is by Vice. It was written by Matthew Galt. It was talking about an AI generated artwork that was submitted to a state fair fine arts competition under the digital art category, and it won first place, and it was completely AI generated. And of course, this is the image right here. It's sort of this like yellow disc and has these people in it, this like Victorian people. I don't know what they're doing. But yeah, it won first place. It was completely AI generated. No human was involved other than to, obviously send the parameters. And this is really really great for art because already people are or artists are using AI to generate parts of the images that would be really tedious to do otherwise. Like think about a really complex like background, for example. Like you need like thousands of computers laying on top of each other for a piece of art, let's say. You can have the computer like generate it, and then all you have to do as the artist is go into like Photoshop, and change it up to whatever your specific specifications are. So, I mean, I'm not really worried about artists losing jobs. This is going to make their jobs easier. We're going to get some more art, but it is just remarkable that artificial intelligence is winning art competitions now.
AI is really coming along. I'm hearing so many good things about it. But it also reminds me of a typical science fiction dystopian future where humans wipe themselves out with a virus or something, and you have all these robots doing crazy things that no longer make any sense, like making art and voting on the art and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's like Stray, I suppose.
I don't know that one, but
Oh, Stray is about a cat in a dystopian future where all the humans go extinct and there's all these like robots that are still around for some reason, even though the humans are all gone.
I remember there was an article about 6 months ago about some kind of AI viewing pornography to like determine viewing videos to decide if there are pornography needed to be filtered. And this made me think of some distant future where the robots are creating porn and viewing porn, and someone's looking at it and saying, "What is going on here? Why are you doing this?" Anyway.
Yeah, yeah. No, no. Like I said, this is not the end of artists. This is a new tool that artists can use. So this is great.
Well, yeah, I would tend to think so. All right. Well, that's it for this one, and we'll be back on Tuesday.